Hey, so guys, Roxcall here, and because of your constant support in this series and many requests, I decided to make a similar video talking about our boy Torbjörn. Torbjörn is another one of those heroes that has always been seen as pretty niche, and has had many changes and even a whole rework that has happened to him over the years. But was this rework any good? And how well does he fit into Overwatch 2 now? That's what I'm going to be trying to find out in this video. Starting out, Torbjörn was another one of those OG heroes that came out with the first release of the game. Our OG Torboy was of course very different in terms of his main abilities compared to modern Torb. The only thing that has stayed pretty much the same is his primary weapon. Just had a bit different recovery time and damage back then. Something that was completely different though was his E ability. Instead of Overload, this was an ability called Armor Pack, in which you could straight up give plus 75 armor to your teammates. This could only be built up by collecting 50 total scrap from the map, however, which were floating metal bits that dropped from fallen enemies. The enemies dropped 30 scrap per during the beta, but this was eventually changed to 15. The scrap also built up passively over time very slowly. His turret was very different then too. Like, as you can see, it starts out in level 1 and can only be placed directly in front of Torb instead of being thrown. It is pretty weak in this level 1 form, but you can upgrade it to level 2 by giving it some good old smacks with your hammer. As you can see, this took a very long time though, especially since his hammer slings were so slow. Additionally, during the beta only, you had to use up scrap to fully upgrade your turret. This turret will stay in level 2 until destroyed, in which then you have to start the upgrade process all over again. In this level 2 form, it pretty much performs exactly as the turret Torb throws out today. Another important thing to mention about this turret is that it could not be manually destroyed by you, but it still could be replaced whenever because of the cooldown not getting blocked when it's shooting people. The final very different thing was his ultimate. Instead of spraying molten lava everywhere, it pretty much gives Torb his E ability, upping his rate of fire and giving him 300 armor. The most important aspect of this ultimate, however, is that it upgraded your turret to level 3 automatically if it was already level 2. In this level 3 form, the turret shot a lot faster, had 800 health, and shot freaking rockets. Safe to say you were most likely dead if this thing had line of sight on you. The crazy part about it is that it didn't even lose this level 3 form after the ultimate was over, only finally losing it upon its destruction. Luckily, this was only a beta feature though, it seems, and it later lost its level 3 form when the ultimate was over. And this was pretty much the OG Torb. I heard many at the time considered this version of Torb very weak and niche due to his super defensive oriented playstyle. He could be pretty handy on certain maps with good turret spots on defense and or some pirate ship compositions. But pretty much anywhere else, many said he was super difficult to get any value out of. It felt impossible to build that turret up to level 2 on attack, or just during a team fight, and unless he had his ultimate up, he was very vulnerable himself. The only time Torb may have been sort of meta / viable in this form was when there were no hero limits, because I heard from many stacking Torbjörn turrets was pretty OP. Still, even if we look at the actual pro meta team compositions back then, usually just ran the 2 Lucio, 2 Winston, 2 Tracer stall compositions I mentioned in my 5v5 versus 66 video. The devs didn't seem to make almost any general changes to Torb before the rework either, with honestly the most significant one being buffs to his hammer swing speed that helped upgrade his turret faster. Eventually, similar to other reworks they were doing at the time, they decided to rework Torb on October 9th, 2018 to make him more viable in more situations. In this rework, the first thing Torb gained was some general buffs to his primary and secondary fire, but the actual major changes start with his turret. Instead of just placing it right in front of you, you can now throw the turret a decent distance to set it up in positions you couldn't before. It also starts in level 2 straight away, with the whole upgrade process being removed. It also could be destroyed whenever you like now if needed. His whole armor giving and scrap gathering abilities got removed as well, and were replaced with Overload. This powers Torb up similar to the old ultimate, but on top of the increased fire rate and health, he now has a faster reload and movement speed in it. It's also important to mention this ability doesn't power up the turret to level 3 anymore either, which is the same with the ultimate, which is now Molten Core. This changes your weapon to the claw arm and allows you to spray lava everywhere that bounces off walls and sticks to the floor. It burns people quite a bit and damages people who have armor even more. And yeah, this was pretty much the Torb rework. The devs said at the time they made these changes to make Torb viable on attack and defense, as well as making him less map dependent. I'll get to my own thoughts later if it actually did, but I'll let you decide on this for now. Something that was most likely true right after this rework was that Torb was still pretty weak. He got some general buffs in Overwatch 1 over the last couple of years of its lifespan to try and make him more viable, but looking at the meta history books, he never even appeared in a single meta team composition. The only time I see the devs actually nerf Torb in Overwatch 1 was on June 18th, 2019. This was right after some Overload buffs that came before, and the dev's reasoning for this nerf was to compensate since his primary fire damage was too strong with it. I don't remember or see any evidence that he was meta at the time, but I'm guessing it was just a big annoyance in the lower ranks with those Overload buffs. But yeah, other than that, there isn't much else to talk about here in Overwatch 1 Rework Torb. No significant meta impact, and no other significant changes. The main worthwhile change from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2 I should mention here was pretty much a nerf to Torb's overload on Overwatch 2's release. As before, the ability gave Torb armor, but now the devs decided to put all abilities that gain bonus health under just one category of overhealth. This meant that Torb would no longer receive the buffs of armor upon using his overload, just pure extra health. Even with these nerfs, a bit after Overwatch 2's release, it was actually said by many that Torb was a bit too strong. Mainly his turret stood out the most, as many said it felt like it was a sixth player on the battlefield being difficult to destroy. The devs first decided to nerf it by giving it 25 less HP on February 7th, 2023. This didn't seem to be enough though, as a couple months later they significantly nerfed the turret damage from 14 to 11. On top of that, the cooldown increased from 10 to 12 seconds. The devs also wanted to bring more power into his main gun too with these nerfs, giving a slight overload buff and buffs to his rivet gun. After a second pair of buffs to buff his gun more, it seemed like it was actually a bit too much, and the devs went back to nerfing Torb a bit more, and then buffing him again after. The final last significant change he got as of posting this video was a buff to his turret damage from 11 to 13. A very up and down roller coaster of changes as you can probably tell, but this is pretty much where Torb stands today with no significant changes to him planned down the line from what we know. Now I want to get into my thoughts of this hero and the meta history as a whole. First, I want to say that I do think this reworked Torb is slightly better than the old one. He was pretty much only viable on defense before on certain maps, and that being in modern Overwatch would just be super frustrating in my opinion. He would be that pick people would switch to when they were throwing your game. His old abilities of giving people armor and the level 3 turret are fun ideas and all, but just wouldn't really fit in modern Overwatch I don't think. Does this mean I think the Torb rework actually made him a fun design of a hero though? Not really. The main playstyle of modern Torb is just based around the turret still, sitting back and spamming down chokes. He also is just a complete tank buster now with his overload and stuff, which I find are always not that fun to play against either in my opinion. He has never really been good enough to be a meta hero. It's one of those lower skill noob stomper heroes that aren't really that fun to play against, and I don't have a great time playing as him either unless I'm going for them hammer kills. How can we fix this boy then if I think he has such fundamental issues? I think the devs need to lean into his builder dynamics more again to make him more interesting, but still make it fit into the fast gameplay of Overwatch 2. One of my favorite ideas is when I heard coach/content creator Spylo mention briefly on a group up podcast. Basically, you give Torb different types of turrets that give more utility/damage, but now they only last for a brief time instead of being there forever. With this, it would make Torb less of a sit back and spam boy, and possibly a more active player on the battlefield. For the specific utility, I feel like they can go in so many different directions, like giving a certain kind of turret a unique effect. You could also maybe spawn in some kind of little robot that moves around and assists in battle, like they did with Bastion in that Mirror Watch mode. This would raise his skill ceiling in a direction I feel that is fitting, and would make him a lot more interesting to play as/against I think. That's all just my personal thoughts on Torby Boy though. You can let me know yours in the comments below and what you would possibly change about Torb. Also remember to be kind and respectful to others in the comments down there when discussing this of course. Thank you all for the support on this series as always, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
Rock skull. All I want to do is stream all night. Lobby full, rock skull. Never gonna play with me, but it's alright.